going to give you a talk about what precisely the WHO is doing in order to grab our sovereignty and rule over us. And of course, the WHO is simply the mechanism by which the globalist cabal is doing this. And they can do it because of the nature of the WHO constitution and the way it works and its reputation. So the mechanism, of course, is through this fake biosecurity pandemic preparedness agenda. And I want to tell you quickly that everything about the pandemic preparedness agenda is false. Every premise it is based on. But it's not just pandemic preparedness. I've made a list of 40 different ways by which the globalists are trying to basically destroy our lives, our society, our relationships with each other, the education of our children, all of this. They claim they want to build back better, but they have to destroy everything first, and these are the ways they're doing it. Now, their two favorite false narratives are climate change and pandemics, and they've put them together so to strengthen each and increase our belief in both. So there has been a massive propaganda push to convince us that these two things are related. ProPublica, this was from The Guardian, which has run many articles about this, and Fauci and Peter Daszak both have written articles about this. Climate change is causing pandemics. They haven't said pandemics cause climate change yet. But they're also trying to convince the scientists, and they're also trying to convince the elites, the minions of the globalist leaders who are doing this to us. So that's the Council on Foreign Relations putting out the same propaganda. Now, it's not only the WHO, as I said, it's all these other globalist organizations that are in on the same plan. And I'm going to show you a bit about what that is. So there was a G20 meeting, annual meeting in September, and this is from their declaration. They want $10 trillion for climate change. They also want global governance. The EU put out this booklet. Renata Holzeisen mentioned it as well. This came out, published in March from the EU. Although it's supposed to be about health, it's really about controlling us, global governance again, with the WHO at its core. This from the same booklet. Everything now is being rolled into health, and health is to become part of all government policies. Same booklet. WHO is the indispensable cornerstone of the multilateral health system, and we have to advance the WHO to give it enforcement of its rules. We need to govern your medical records, your health data. We have to negotiate a legally binding pandemic treaty and international health regulation amendments that completely change the document into one that allows governance by making all the recommendations of the WHO binding instead of advice. And we need a One Health approach. There must be a surveillance network. This surveillance network has already been started by the G7. We need to surveil humans, animals, and the environment, and we have to sequence the pathogens we find. What is One Health? One Health is a very peculiar idea that was invented about 22 years ago and was co-opted by the globalists about a dozen years ago, introduced at Davos in 2012. It is a way to wrap everything else in the world up into health, which will enable the WHO to govern everything. So there's a lot of funny language trying to explain what it is. They use big words, very long sentences, and it's all meaningless. So you can see, but it also addresses the collective need for clean water, energy and air, safe and nutritious food, climate change, and sustainable development. This is all One Health now. And this is One Health too. You know, all of these things need One Health. Climate change, communications, economics, trade, public policy, research. One Health is a scam, as I said. Food production, travel trade, urbanization, blah, blah, blah. The bottom quote is from The Lancet in January in an editorial on One Health, which said, "All life is equal and of equal concern. We are as concerned about the welfare of non-human animals in the environment as we are about humans." So the World Bank has joined with the WHO to form a pandemic fund. They're trying to collect money. They want new forms of financing. They're going to need hundreds of billions of dollars to push out the pandemic program around the world. The World Bank also joined with EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Daszak's organization, in 2018 to create this approximately 100-page report. And what was it about? One of the things was broadening the scope of health, the definition of health, rolling everything into health. What is the UN doing? Plenty. This year, the UN has published 11 reports they're calling Our Common Agenda, and they want to transform everything in the world, pretty much. This is an old UN from several years ago. The UN Conference on Trade and Development says achieving the Sustainable Development Goals will require $5 to $7 trillion a year. Of course, they want to get their hands on that. Think of the commissions they will make financing that kind of money. This is one of those 11 reports. In this one, the UN has proposed taking over the management of global shocks. So just in case the WHO does not achieve its pandemic treaty and/or its international health regulations, the UN is ready to step in and manage 7 global shocks, which include biological warfare, pandemics, events in outer space, all sorts of things, problems with the electrical grid, etc. And they want standing authority to operationalize automatically. In other words, the Secretary General of the WHO won't need to ask for permission. They'll be able to operationalize this automatically the way the WHO wants to do with anything it relates to health. I'm going backwards. This is another one of those reports, Reforms to the International Financial Architecture. Again, global economic governance. So I'm not kidding. These people are dead serious. Global tax architecture. They want to be able to tax everybody, including people in Africa who don't even know what taxes are. Here in the U.S., the biosecurity agenda has already been made law. An 18-page bill was tucked into a 1,700-page bill in the National Defense Authorization Act last December. These are some of the issues that are included in the bill. So this is U.S. law now. We will comply with the global health security agenda, and we will advance the One Health approach, and we will give Bill Gates Foundation, Gavi, money. However, this is from the White House. It's from just a year ago. And again, the United States government wants to spend a lot of money investing in pandemics because they're going to save trillions of dollars by investing hundreds of billions. However, they do not have a plan. The entire pandemic program is bullshit. None of it works. They don't know how to do it. They say they want to accelerate new technologies. That's because they don't have them. They want to steal your hospital data. They want to share your data internationally. And they're going to figure out how to do this using data modeling. Hello. Oops. So, I think I've already said most of this. The good news is that the agenda can only succeed if the people of the world remain in the dark, because this agenda benefits nobody in the end, except a very tiny number of globalists and financiers. In one slide, I've tried to summarize what it is the WHO is doing. These two documents are as proposed. They will be voted on or maybe approved without a vote in May of next year. They propose to make the Director General's dictates enforceable. Surveillance. Countries are required to perform surveillance of their media as well as their microbiology of their citizens, animals, and environment. They have to share any biological warfare agents, which are called potential pandemic pathogens that they find. They have to censor, according to the version of the health regulation amendments that we have so far, they have to censor their nations. So if you talk about early treatment, for example, and the WHO doesn't want it, that won't be able to get out. Rapid vaccines, they don't talk in this document about 100 days for the vaccines, but CEPI, which is pushing the 100-day development of vaccines concept, was founded by basically Bill Gates and Jeremy Farrar, and Jeremy Farrar has now been moved to the WHO as its chief scientist, in my view, to push this agenda. So I've created a one-page summary of why the entire pandemic preparedness agenda is a scam. And I've got 3 slides that are just, you can get this whole thing on my website, Door to Freedom, but this is the first third of it. Here's the second third. These are all the things that they never tell you about that show why it doesn't work. And here's the third third. If you really wanted to prevent pandemics, these are the kinds of things you would do, but these are not the things they are doing or talking about or letting you know. Okay, what do? Last month, the WHO's principal attorney came up with an idea that they could not obey their own rules. So according to the international health regulations, as they were amended in 2005, state parties or the Director General of WHO can offer amendments to the document, and they need to be provided to the member states 4 months in advance. So they don't want to do that. They don't want anyone to know what's going to be in the final version. And the chances are very good that the treaty will not pass, and all the things that they wanted from the treaty will be moved into the amendments. So what he said was, first of all, that the new amendments are not going to be proposed by a state or by the Director General, but rather by a committee, so they don't have to follow the rules. And he also said that the 307 amendments about a year and a half ago had already been made public, and even though this committee's been working on them, we can just pretend that they've already been in the public domain, so we don't have to do it again. This is the actual screenshot of the document. You can see it's very clear. It says they can be proposed only by a nation or the Director General, not by committee. It also says 4 months. So this can be disputed, right? The wording is clear. It needs to be disputed by a nation state. Nobody is over the WHO except the members. They're called the World Health Assembly. There's 194 member nations. Yours could be the first in Romania to dispute this, okay? They have to show us 4 months in advance what is in the document. Now, there's another trick. Another trick is that last year, there were amendments put forward, and they were never voted on. They were discussed in back rooms, and then a Japanese guy with a gavel and an American State Department person standing behind him said, everybody okay with this? No problems? He waited about 2 seconds and went, boom, done. And then he didn't even know what was happening. She was whispering in his ear what this process was. Okay, now we've approved the amendments. That's how it was done in May of 2022. That is likely what they're going to do this coming May, because if they do it that way, none of the diplomats are held accountable, right? Each country's diplomat can say, I didn't do it, I was against it. So what we've got to do, this is my last slide. I've got one more. All right. What we've got to do is stop that. And these are some other suggestions for ways we can try to stop this. Sorry? One sec. All right, this is the organization Door to Freedom. We have made loads of handouts, very short articles, very long articles, analyses of the WHO documents, and all the various drafts of these WHO documents are all available. They're on the homepage. Everything you need to know about the WHO we've tried to put on this website. Thank you.